¿Cómo están? Good evening. I'm Sandra Roman. Welcome to our Seniors Real Estate and Services video series. Today, as always, I'm with my friend Denise. Hi, Denise. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. How are you, Sandra?
Perfect.
Good.
Perfect.
Good.
Tell me, where do you
you
roll?
Today, I have my friend Diane Facina right next to me.
Hello.
Hi.
So we're going to be talking about safety in the home and talking about occupational therapy, things like that, because Diane's an occupational therapist. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Denise Lanzarone, your local realtor. Where can we find you, Diane?
Yeah. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, Diane Facina.
Facebook and Instagram, Diane Facina.
I don't have any code names or anything. It's just me.
And today we are live in Denise's Facebook page, in my Facebook page, and my YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, please, where's my bell? Ring the bell, comment, share, and subscribe to my channel. Subscribe to Denise's page too, and my page, my Facebook page. We are live. We're going to be live 3 more weeks, right, Denise?
Yes.
With this series. And you can find me as Sandra Roman Real Estate in YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. And what else, Denise? What I'm missing?
I would have brought a bong over a bell.
This is my son.
Use that.
My son uses this for his whatever thing that he does.
Okay, so we are running this series as a community service, just to get information out there to anybody that might need it. Some resources available. We're having a different person each week talk a little bit about a different senior subject, and it's just for information. At the end of the series, which we have 3 more weeks, it's a 6-week series, we are going to put together a manual that will have all the information, contact information, and a little blurb about what each person does included, so that if you want it, we can send it to you via email, and so that you have that, just save it in a folder. If you ever need somebody, that's where you can find all the resources.
And we're going to have the resources from the last season that we have, because we go by seasons.
I have some resources today as well that I'll be assisting with for your binder, for your folder.
Good.
All right.
Very good.
That will be nice. Well, so let's start. What is OT?
So what is OT? So I'll just give you a little background on myself. I was a CODA, an occupational therapy assistant, for 14 years. I went to LaGuardia Community College, graduated in 1996. Then 14 years later, I went back to school for my bachelor's and master's degree. The highest level of education currently for occupational therapists is a master's. However, they're transitioning to the doctorate, as well as PTs are doctorates. They're doctors of physical therapy. Having said that, I then worked in hospitals mostly in my career. I did mostly orthopedics, cardiac care, elder care. In the beginning of my career, I then transitioned into trauma care. I did brain injury, spinal cord injury, acute care, strokes, other neurodevelopmental disorders such as Guillain-Barré and multiple sclerosis. I worked for the Multiple Sclerosis Society for a while. I did outreaching exercise programs with them. And I had the pleasure of working at Beth Israel and Mount Sinai in Manhattan for many years. When I transitioned to Long Island, I worked at St. Charles Hospital. It was then that the occupational therapy assistant to OTR program branched out, and I went back to school. And I did my bachelor's and master's in 3 years on the weekends. And then I landed at Momentum, where I met Denise. Then I worked at Southside Hospital for quite some time, where I dabbled in hand therapy, then did traumatic brain injury again, spinal cord injury, and acute care. So it was great. I mean, I've had a very good, excellent career, mentored and met wonderful people through this, and patients. The patients really are the ones that we get into this career for. So what is occupational therapy? Occupational therapy provide skills for the life of living. What does that mean? That means that when there is a disability, no matter what the scope of the disability, from infancy all the way to adulthood, as occupational therapists, we provide the skills to help people live their life as independently as possible through activities of daily living. And that goes under the scope of bathing, dressing, and hygiene, as well as providing adaptive equipment to do these skills with. We also look at home assessment, cooking, cleaning, laundry, which are under the scope of independent IADLs, shopping, because some patients who have injuries, such as brain injuries, have cognitive components attached to those injuries. So we have to adapt the life skills with that. Spinal cord injury is a big umbrella, which I won't overly diverse into, but we have to provide skills for wheelchairs and catheterizing themselves and dressing themselves. When you look at the pediatrics, I did not do pediatrics in my career. However, we look at pediatrics who have developmental delays, autism, vision skills, and other disabilities that children may have. And unfortunately, some children are on ventilators as well. However, that education is more geared towards parents, in a sense, provide care with them. And we do assist caregivers as well, going through fine motor skills and developmental skills that children need through their lifespan as well. Occupational therapists also specialize in vision, cognition, wheelchairs, and home assessment evaluations. So there's a big scope of what we can do. And we work along physical therapists and speech language pathologists. We also specialize in cognition, looking at somebody's cognitive abilities. That's also a big umbrella for another date and time. But basically looking at their ability to execute a skill, initiate the skill, and complete the skill, such as the basic things of brushing your teeth can be difficult, whether you've had a physical disability that impacts your cognition and your physical, or your physical. So go ahead.
I start with my questions. I'm sorry.
Could I just say one thing before you ask a question?
Yeah.
If anybody would like to ask a question, just type it in and I can answer you right in the chat. So just type your questions in if you have any questions for Diane. Go ahead, Sandra. Sorry.
Go ahead,
With
Sandra.
my question, in the case of seniors, how does OT applies to them?
So that's what I was going to segue into next. So when we look at the seniors and the elders, you know, oftentimes we see, quote, this pseudo diagnosis of failure to thrive. So what does that mean? Many times, a lot of these elders have fallen from fractures, the hip, shoulder injuries. Their cognition is sometimes impaired, which escalated this fall. And then there's other components of when we get older, you know, diabetes that can impact our function, cardiovascular issues that can affect our function, vision. So what do we do for the elders? Well, we work on a lot of what we call therapeutic activities and exercises to give a holistic approach to the patient or the resident, we like to call them in the nursing home arena. And assisted living facilities we work in as well, and home care, of course. So we look at that person, we go in and we do the initial evaluation. We find out what their baseline was prior to this injury, if they're able to provide that history. If not, we call the family. What their home is like, the stairs to enter their home, the basic architectural design of their home. Then we create a care plan. What is that care plan devised of? It's devised of standing balance, right? Because you need standing balance to do your basic activities of daily living, sitting balance activities. And we also look at therapeutic exercises to strengthen. Most of the times people don't know this, but to do activities of daily living takes a lot of endurance and strength and stamina. So our care plan is geared around those things. And we break down activities, we analyze activities, and we do these components in all settings with our elders. And then if things overlap, we don't work on gait per se to work on gait like physical therapists do, but we work on the walking portion of it to get from point A to point B and analyze that activity. So that's the basics of what we do
Mm-hmm.
for elders in nursing home environment, and assisted living environments. That's what we try to make.
You were talking about people, when we get older, sometimes, well, usually we fall, we have accidents at home,
Right.
and how is we were talking before about safety in the home.
Right.
Why is so important, the safety in the homes?
So I wouldn't like to say that all elders fall. I mean, I have put some things on my Facebook page where there's 101 women running still at 101 doing races.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a mindset. And I would say that, yes, do elders fall? A lot of people fall. I mean, there's multiple reasons why people fall. But having said that, so safety in the home. So what do we look at? Now, these are all generalized commentaries that I'm going to review and scope over. And if ever needed me to come back or we did this again, we could go dive in deeper to the topics. Having said that, when we talk about safety in the home, we look at the components of what the environment looks like. So we do an overview room to room. So is there excess furniture? Are there throw rugs? Are there wires coming out of a wall? Excess furniture, couches, tables, chairs. What does the shower look like? Is it a walk-in shower or is it a tub situation?
Mm-hmm.
What does the toilet bowl look like and the height of the toilet bowl? So basically, we would look at the furniture and we would assist the family member or the client or the resident, the patient, to move certain furniture in a gentle, approachable fashion. Most people don't want to adapt their homes. It's their home, but we have to provide the safest thing possible. Then we'd move into the shower environment and discuss grab bars, shower chairs versus tub benches. So tub benches are a rather larger piece of equipment.
Yes.
You can go outside of a tub as well, and you would sit and swivel. Where shower chair, you step in and sit. The removable shower heads we also talk about, and things of the like. And then we really recommend throw rugs should not be in place. And if they are, double back tape should be placed on that. Why else would falls happen? Low vision, vestibular issues, low sugars. What is going on with them medically, to have had a fall happen? People have diabetes. They're not eating right. A lot of elders don't eat right and drink properly. Unfortunately, I've had that experience with my parents as well. So there's just not the component of, arthritis and all these other components. There's so many other vessels to why people would fall in their home. And so then we would do that. And then we also can look at ramps. So the idea of a ramp is 1 inch for every rise of corresponding 12 inches of the ramp. So there are different companies. I have a company here. Well, you can't really see it, but it's Safety Net Solutions. We could put the phone number up. This gentleman would come to your home. His name is Kyle. He's an occupational therapist that I know, and I'm familiar with him. And he would come in and look at helping you with ramps, grab bars, and things like that. There's websites for things, but you would want somebody to come to your home and measure it. Go ahead.
I was just thinking, for example, I know different people, different families, different, it's different, what they need.
Yeah.
But if I need to do something in my home, what is the thing that I should rearrange for safety? If I'm
that's a very generalized question. We can't say what generally. It's dependent upon the client and very dependent upon what the home looks like.
Okay.
So if you feel,
but like, for example, like the rugs, I should take them away, or something.
I mean, if your throw rugs hanging out in the wind and you could slip and fall on them, that's not a good idea for any of us, right? Yeah. So that's one thing I would say for any of us to say, that we shouldn't have those types of things. However, every individual is very different. And so therapists don't generalize things. Okay. They're very zeroed in on the client, the resident, the patient, and what we look at specific to that case. Now, if you're saying to me, well, what would be the best advice that you would give a family member? Look at the furniture. How is the furniture set up? What's the accessibility from the couch to the refrigerator?
Okay.
What's the accessibility from the couch and the bedroom to the bathroom? Do you need to move their bedroom somewhere closer to a bathroom? You know, are they located upstairs?
Yeah.
Can you move a bed to a room on the first floor if they're not going to move? That's a big thing. That's a huge thing. Some of these elders, as my parents did before I moved them, they had 13 steps to get into their home and 13 steps to get to their bedroom. That's
It's like my parents. They
not
are
very
upstairs.
safe. And their bathroom was upstairs as well. So I had to move them. So there's that. And how many stairs do they get into the house to negotiate to get into the house? But not everybody can move and not everybody can afford it.
Exactly.
So there's got to be ways like a ramp that can be utilized that aren't exorbitant amounts of money. But that's why I have the information for this gentleman that you would call and speak to him about. So moving on, we can talk about activities of daily living next, if you'd like, Sandra.
Yeah.
So the next topic would be activities of daily living. So when we look at the elders in their home, I have my parents, my parents currently have an aide, but having said that, when you're the caregiver or caregivers, children mostly are taken on that task.
Yes.
You know, my best advice would be to say to them, structure these schedules. People need structure. All of us, I mean, I don't know all of us, but most of us like structure, give or take on a given day or what have you. So structure the schedule of showers. Every other day would be good. Obviously, the skin is a very large, it's the biggest organ in our body.
Yeah, sure.
Multiple things can occur.
Talking about showers, maybe it's not a question to make, but I have a friend. His mom has Alzheimer, and she sometimes forgets to shower.
Right.
And they're having a very difficult time.
Right.
Because she doesn't want to take the clothes off. She is stubborn. She is getting into,
Well, people with dementia and Alzheimer's, when they get into the later stages of that, become agitated.
Yes.
And they don't want to take a shower.
Yes, but when they are in the first...
I'm sorry?
When they are like beginning, how can you somehow make a schedule?
Through the process of dementia and Alzheimer's, which is another broad
yes.
that I've worked with. I actually did Alzheimer's in a nursing home when I was younger, actually, under a recreational therapist. And it changes over the period of time. The brain changes and the cognitive components change. So let's look at the beginning stages and talk about that a little bit. So my mom, I'll give you the example. My mom was not showering. Of course, there's other components of that, like depression, and elders also have depression sitting in their home, right? So when you're depressed, you don't want to shower. And when you have Alzheimer's or dementia and things of the like, you don't want to shower. For whatever reason, your brain is not cooperating and telling you that would be a no to the caregiver. One of the things you can do, you can adapt the situation. You can sponge bathe and help them do that. You give them choices, and then you have to redirect people. You also have to validate the elderly. The caregiver, I've gotten frustrated as well, can become very frustrated. So sometimes you have to give things on their time. You say, okay, in a half an hour, we're going to do this. Again, this is the earlier stages of things. Okay. Lay their clothes out for them. Unfortunately, choice making is not really a situation by which they're able to handle sometimes. Those multifaceted tasks like getting the underwear, getting the bra or what have you, or the shirt and the pants and the socks and the shoes. If they can, encourage that. If they can't, then say, do you want this shirt or this shirt? So they feel still in the driver's seat, right? We have to give people their independence as long as they can have it. That's very, very important, especially the elders. These are very strong people from a different generation. So when we talk about that, you also can label their closets, their shirts, their pants, and then on drawers, you can put underwear and bras and socks. So they can, if they still able to read based on their cognitive capabilities. So they know where things are. Brushing their teeth is another one that's not very common play for people that go through the phases of dementia and Alzheimer's. What you can lay it out for them, and then you have to speak very slow and simple without coming off derogatory or condescending too. It's a very complicated flow, but you can make it simple by just simply setting up the tasks and saying, so let's do this together, rather than saying, let's do this now. How about we do this versus let's do it now. You don't want to boss people around.
Even if they don't have dementia or Alzheimer's, they, sometimes they get stubborn.
They get stubborn and they don't want to do it. So, again, these are just generalized things and advice that I provide to you, also based on how I've handled my patients over the years, whether it was a brain injury or dementia or Alzheimer's. And most of the time, the way you speak to them is extremely, extremely important. And your approach to them. You don't look down at them. You don't look them, really in their face. You don't get in their personal space. You just don't want to do that with people. It's not polite and it's not courteous, first of all. Second of all, they get a little bit more introverted in a sense, and they don't like their space being taken up.
Yes.
So you give them choices, or in a sense, you have to say, okay, well, here it is. Let's just go now. And it works, but sometimes it doesn't. And you have to shift and move through those tasks. And I can't sit here and tell you that one thing is right or wrong. But if you say, how about versus let's do this, and say, we have to do this right now, that approach is much better. And there are experts out there that talk about dementia and Alzheimer's too, that can have conversations more so than I can.
Yeah, sure.
But that's really the poignant piece that I was trying to get across with ADLs. Labeling things. I would say in a kitchen environment, removing sharp items right off the counters, decluttering the environment in the kitchen as much as possible.
Yeah.
When you set their food up to eat, I wouldn't put tons of food in front of them because the elders don't want to eat tons of food anymore.
No.
You can give shakes and chores during the day. I'm not a nutritionist, but this is just my key points that we've done through the years as being clinicians and practitioners. Denise has done this as well. You want to provide snacks during the day and liquids. We get very dehydrated as we get older. So, little sips here and there, but making sure they're getting enough intake throughout the day is crucially important. You want to avoid UTIs and any other things of that nature. And that's basically it, with the ADLs. I would also say utilizing things such as Peapod is really important, and perhaps asking your local pharmacy about delivering their medications. This takes the burden off the caregiver. I was running around picking up my parents' meds a year ago. I'm no longer doing that, and Rite Aid delivers it. Peapod is a great vessel as long as somebody's home to take it in. If the elder can take it, that's great. That takes the load off of them.
How do you manage the medication?
So basically, the medication can be given to you from the doctor up to 3 months. You can get 3 months for all the meds. You would speak to the physician about that, as long as it's not like a controlled substance, Xanax or an OxyContin or a Percocet, where that has to be controlled in a different fashion.
Those are very strong.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into that, but that's kind of just understanding. I know these things just from being an occupational therapist and working with physicians, but you would want to speak to your doctor about that. I'm not going to give over advice about that. Having said that, on the general medications, you can ask for a 3-month supply. So for 3 months, you wouldn't have to worry. But and ladder towards, like, I wouldn't say you let it go for like just a week supply. I would say you check it towards the latter end of that 3 months and really make sure that these meds are in place. You can get the pill bottle, the medication, what are they called again? The, oh my God. The little medication
like
boxes
per
se. Yeah, you can get them by the week. I have my parents up to 2 weeks. They sell them now.
Yeah, my mom has that one too.
And give friendly reminders. Now, every caregiver situation is very different. I have an aide there 24/7. Not everybody has that luxury. So a lot of family members are running back and forth. So that is somewhat of a real deal that's going on in the world, unfortunately.
Do you make it like a calendar?
You can make a calendar. You can make a calendar. You can do color-coded things for them. I would say bold print if there's low vision involved, or as we get older, our vision goes a little bit more. Reading smaller print is not as applicable anymore.
Mine
So these
is
are
gone.
What's that?
My vision is gone.
Yes.
I can't see small things
Yes,
anymore.
I can't see you right now.
And I'm not that small.
I'm just pretending on TV. So that's what I would say about. So I guess I kind of covered ADLs and medication management. There's the life alerts. There's phones that, if they're hard of hearing, can show the what the person's saying. That gets a little mucky. One of my aunt's friend calls me all the time, and I have to repeat myself.
Yeah,
that's not really a lot of fun.
No,
but these things are out there for adaptive uses. So we've come a long way. Also, to note, you can do a wellness check. You can call 911, and a police officer can go to the house and check on your family. If you live out of state, I had to do that with my parents when they lived in Queens. They would forget to hang up the phone, and the busy signal would be on. That was joyous. And I would have the cops have to go to their house, unfortunately, to check on them. Yes. So, these are things that unfortunately occur. So I guess I kind of covered cognition, but I would like to say one other components of cognition in general. There are many things that you can do to assist with cognition in the home. So what did the COVID do? The COVID isolated us. Dementia escalated or accelerated during that time period, as per the news and medical institutions providing us with this information, and doctors providing us with this information. It accelerated. And why? Because socialization, it makes your brain work. It gives you that conversation. It gives you that interaction. Even if it's the most simple topic of what did the Mets do and what the scores of the Mets are doing. Even as simple as, what did you buy at the supermarket today, Sally? These are simple conversations, right? But they're social and they mean something to people. So I would say the most important thing is, if you and your family are close enough. I know what I do is I am now friends with all my parents' friends. So I have them call my parents. I have them go over there. I hired a physical therapist to go over and treat my mom. I had a speech language pathologist working on cognitive skills with my mom. Speech therapists also do that. And company, as much company as possible now that the COVID has died down. You can go outside now that the summer's here. Even spending 20 minutes with somebody is so important. Bringing the newspaper to them, bringing cards over to them. You can mix and match cards and have 2 jacks and see if they can remember where the jacks were if you like cards out on the table. You can do board games with them. I know that sounds kind of silly, but I have my mother doing Scrabble now. She doesn't like it, but she can't just sit there and do the crossword puzzle all day long, which she's very good at, by the way. But photo albums are great. We all have pictures laying around. At least our generation does, right? Wink, wink. We're not aging ourselves, but we all have pictures, right? So a phone is great for pictures, but that tactile, the holding of the picture, the seeing the picture, the reminiscing with them, often as they age through process of time, they won't remember the short term. They remember the long term.
Yes, they will.
Wow, their memory is great. Sure, their memory is great, but they may ask you 5 times, what did I have for breakfast?
Exactly.
Right? So you have to kind of get over that. You have to kind of get over yourself, right? Of hearing what mom and dad or Aunt Sally said 5,000 times. It's not about you. It's about what they think they said, but they don't remember saying it. So you have to appease them and validate what they're saying. Engaging in simple things like going through files of things and having them help you rip them up, and then taking their clothes out and saying, what do you want to keep versus what would you not want to keep? And what is near and dear to them? Do you want to give it to a church? Do you want to send it away to other family members in another country that you may have come from originally? What's important to them is really the key thing here, because you're taking away their independence, and it's not fair, because we may be in the same position one day. I'm not saying that I'm 100% kudos with my parents all the time. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
But what I'm saying is these are tasks and tools that we can utilize to help our family members and ourselves, right?
Yeah.
So utilizing the iPad. If you are apt enough to have an iPad, there are free apps. So word searches, visual scanning, memory, even those simple memory cards that they have at the store, at Target, things of the like, may seem silly to that person. Set it up, put it on the table and say, we're going to do this together. This is great. Let's just do this together. Focusing on vocabulary skills with them, word games. Some of the things that I looked up were Elevate is free. There are many word search there's like a app for word search on iPads. Multiple things are free on the iPad now. If you utilize it, it's very simple for them too. It's not complicated. You want to keep instruction simple and basic through dementia. You wouldn't be talking at the same pace that I'm talking now. It wouldn't work because what happens to the brain is you take the information in, but believe it or not, it goes through all these little calculating nuts and bolts to process that information.
Yes.
Or not. It goes through a very big loop in your brain. And if you're speaking too much, then they can get irate with you. And then there's an argument that can brew. So, and that's not fair to them and it's not fair to you. So if you want them to do something or engage, say, let's just sit down. How are you today? And that. Here, I brought these pictures over. Let's look at them. Wow, that looks, you get very good reactions from things like that from people. So those are basic tools that I say are have worked for me and worked for Denise in our career. And not always 100% of the time. And if it's your family member, keep in mind, they probably will not really listen to you as much as they would listen to. So if Denise came over and said, Evelyn, we're going to go outside today and go for a walk, she would listen to Denise versus listening to me. She'd probably listen to you versus listening to me. So that's why I have a friend of mine seeing my mom 3 days a week for therapy. So just remember that, that, folks, you're not going to always get your family member to do what you want them to do. You may have to leave and come back.
And it's very emotional for you because it is your family member. So that's
they never want to listen to their child. My parents still think I'm 12. Although I could look like that sometimes.
I know. I have the same problem.
Sandra?
They don't listen to me either.
I know. Do you have any questions for me?
No. Denise?
Roll bases for you tonight?
Yes, Denise.
No, I think that was great. So what's also important to note is that and one of the reasons why we're doing this series is there are a lot of resources out there that can help. And you just have to know where to look and who to look for. So Diane's going to go over a few of her resources. And like I said, I, as a senior real estate specialist, have a lot of resources as well, making a lot of connections with people in the field that can help anyway in anything you can think of. Art therapy, yoga, the social work, psychological counseling, all kinds of things. So anything that you need, don't hesitate to reach out to any of us.
Yep. So I'm going to go over some folks of mine in the industry that I've collaborated with, had the pleasure of working with, went to school with, and the like. So the first person I want to talk about is a woman by the name of Patty Bloom. I'll pull her up on my phone. I didn't write her phone number down. So Patty Bloom I met when I didn't meet her personally, actually, but I've spoken to her on the phone quite a bit. She's a woman who will come to your home, look at what I like to call your undergepatchkes, which I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but it's Yiddish for crap.
Okay.
So basically, it's the antiquities that your family member may have, such as antiques, artwork. I wouldn't say big pieces of furniture, pocketbooks, shoes, clothing, and things of the like. So Patty Bloom is I believe it's diamond sales, And she comes to your home and sets your home up like it's a thrift shop, believe it or not.
Oh.
And she sold tons and tons and tons of things from my parents. So I'm sorry, pardon me, everybody. Let me just get to the phone number on my phone. Hopefully I can find her. Here she is. Okay. So she's a professional estate seller. So what she does is she comes in and itemizes, quote, your items, not to sound redundant. She actually knows a lot about antiques and clothing and pictures and what they could possibly be worth.
Mm-hmm.
She sets the home environment up for you. And you have to leave her for the day and trust that she will keep your home safe. She does do that. And I can tell you how she does that because I saw what she did with my family. She ropes off a lot of sections and she has gentlemen that are there to protect your home and your environment.
Mm-hmm.
Her number is...
I put it in the chat.
All right.
But you can say it out loud.
It's 516-509-7703. And her name is Patty Bloom. The second person I'd like to introduce is a colleague and a friend of mine. Her name is Janine Blanco Murphy. She's a doctorate in physical therapy, also has her MBA. She also specializes in autoimmune paleo diet or AIP. So Janine is a physical therapist for many, 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 many years. She also can specialize and assist a family member in accruing a more healthful diet. Having her background in physical therapy and healthcare, she also would understand diabetes and gut issues, GERD, and things of the like to assist a family member to help mediate a diet per se for their elder. Janine, and also provide physical therapy within the home environment. Her number is 516-314-3785. Next person I'd like to introduce is Samantha Tartaglia. It's a big name.
Yeah.
And for a little person, she's got a big personality. Often people think we're very similar creatures, actually. She's an MS OT like myself. She could provide occupational therapy within the home. Her number is 631-921-7604. Another colleague and friend of mine, his name is Anthony Marullo. Anthony and I met at Stony Brook University in the OT program. I forgot to mention that occupational therapists can also specialize in upper extremity rehab, shoulder and hand therapy. Oftentimes they become certified hand therapists and take another boards exam. He has 3 businesses. Well, it's one business under a title of East End Occupational Therapy. You can find him on a website and look at his pictures and his website, East End Occupational Therapy. Marullo. Anthony has practices in Bohemia, Rockville Center, and Massapequa. I've had the pleasure of working for him in his private practice as well. He specializes in hand and upper extremity rehab. So it's funny, Sandra, you didn't ask me, but I had a feeling you might. What are those injuries? Those injuries would be perhaps a fractured shoulder, carpal tunnel syndrome, crush injuries to the hand, splinting, orthopedic injuries, such as that you have a very specific component in your shoulders that can get injured, such as your rotator cuff muscles that can be torn, and they do reconstructive surgery on. Reverse total shoulder replacements, and other types of hand injuries, perhaps by accidents, crush injuries, or you cut it with a knife, accidentally. There's multiple facets to that, but that's a general overview of what Anthony treats and provides care for. So his business line is 631-676-4185. And like I said, he's located in Bohemia, Rockville Center, and Massapequa. The last person I'd like to talk about is a friend of ours and colleague of ours, Anita Campbell. Anita Campbell is a physical therapy assistant we had the pleasure of working with her at Momentum for many, many, many years. She is what we call a holistic health coach. So she also could provide individual support for nutritional changes for overall health. And how does that differ from my friend Janine? Well, their skill set's very different in the diets that they would look at and the diagnoses that they both look at and treat. It's not diagnosis. We treat the symptoms, therapists per se, of diagnoses. We're not, quote, diagnosticians. We treat symptoms. But both of them could assist in these faceted areas. And also, Anita is specializing in return home consultant from a subacute arena. So one would say that she could be another facilitative tool in the field that could assist in looking over the home environment and making assessments on what you would need. And did we mention Kyle?
Yeah, I put his number in the chat as well.
So Kyle, his company is called Safety Net Solutions, and he works on ramps, stair lifts, which I didn't talk about, grab bars, and more, and vertical platform lifts and bathroom accessibility and accessible renovations. So what does that mean? So when somebody's in a wheelchair, they would need a specific circumference to the space to be able to have turn angles in those spaces. And lots of times people who accrue spinal cord injuries, per se, are permanently in their wheelchairs, right? Yes. So not everybody has the luxury of going out and buying a new home. But
that we can help them with if they
of course.
That's where you Denise would come in. And you can take down walls and all these other things, but lots of people again can't afford to do that. There's obviously we're lucky to have GoFundMe pages now and things like that to help our fellow people in the world, which we all have done that. But there are homes that you can get. Obviously, you ladies know more about this than I. That would be accessible for folks, or simply making some adaptive changes to a home environment. That could be simple. But anyway, that's pretty much what I have for this evening. Feel free to ask me back anytime. Are we on camera still?
Yes.
Yes, we are. Do we have any other question?
I don't know, Sandra. You I can't believe you don't have anything for me.
I don't have any more questions, actually. I asked a lot today, I guess.
Yeah, that was great information, Diane. We're happy.
Where can they find you, Diane?
Well, you can find me
about your business a little bit too.
Oh yeah. So getting into other things. I'm sorry. So my phone number is 516-474-0516. I can also do OT in the home as well, occupational therapy in the home. Like I said, you know my specialty area is neurological rehab, but I also specialize in orthopedic rehab and elder care. Having said that, one of the other things that I wanted to get into, given my area of expertise with occupational therapy, was something called organizing. So most therapists are Uber type A people. If you haven't noticed, I would think people that have to structure people's lives, like real estate agents, would be the same way. So I have a company called Organize 101, which is on my Facebook page. And what I can do is 2 houses I've done already were a little bit, had technical difficulties, I would say. They were hoarding type situations. And I went in and I basically decluttered every single room in the house, room by room. I took things out. I removed things. I donated things for them. And the real estate agent was very helpful and also helped me do that. And they actually gave a lot of things away to their family members. And one of the women had a family members in another country. So she gave clothes away to that country. And then also packing and unpacking somebody to move. and downsizing their home environment. So if you say to me, I have a client who wants to stay in their home and the family members need me to come in and declutter it per se to make it safer for them, I would come in and do that. I would help the family members and the client pretty much not, I wouldn't say get rid of things. That's a very harsh thing to say. Donate, give to other family members, give to the local churches, maybe sell. And then if you and Denise came to me and said, Diane, we need you to help us because we're selling this house, to stage it. So there's ways of staging home with the things you have in your house. You don't need necessarily to go out and buy 5 new rugs to cover the floors. You could take pictures down, family photos, which I already heard that, you don't want anything too personal in a home environment. Tchotchkes, furniture, taking them out of a space to create that space, and things of the like. So mainly it's about providing support for people who are going to sell their home, or organizing, decluttering, and packing that home, and then providing support for the next home, or just simply going in and taking things away to make that home safer for the resident, or for the client in their home, and helping that family member through that process. So when and if they have to transition them into a nursing home or an assisted living, we've already done half the work, pretty much, or more than half the work, God willing. Because I don't know about you, but I had a family member that had like 10 platters. I don't think you need 10 platters, because I don't know what the heck you're going to do with those.
I have 10 platters.
You need help.
I need help.
Wow.
I have to declutter the house.
This is called Organize 101 by Diane Facina. So, yeah.
I'm already a senior. I have like a lot of stuff.
Cut it out. Get rid of it. Nobody wants your stuff.
But me. Where else can they find you?
Instagram. I'm on Instagram. I don't have a lot of pictures up on Instagram. I would say I'm more vested on Facebook. I have an email. So my last name is a little hard to spell, but it's dfacina1@optonline.net. So you can find, well, I don't have a web page, but you can email me if you'd like. So it's DFIS, as in Sam, CINA1@optonline.net.
Okay.
All
Denise,
right.
Where can they find you?
I'm right here.
In my house.
I'm on Facebook, Denise Lanzarone, your local realtor. Instagram, Denise Lanzarone. LinkedIn, Denise Lanzarone. Just Google me. You'll find me. And we thank everybody for joining us.
I finally were able to.
Hi, Diane.
We have Wendell joined us, and Nicole, Purdy, and Antoinette, and Diane, and Joanne. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you watching us tonight.
We appreciate
hope you're all doing well.
What's next? What's next for next week, Denise?
Next,
a surprise?
A surprise guest.
Mr. Magoo. Mr. Magoo.
We have a surprise guest. Please
join
us
next week.
Join us next week for our surprise guest.
Yes. We'll let you know ahead of time, but
the day before.
Yeah. We have to figure that out yet. But after that, we have.
Don't say that. You just say it's a surprise guest.
Oh, yes. We have Judy Serino the week after that, who's going to talk to us about senior fraud.
Ooh, my parents got fraud.
Yeah, so that's going to be a good one. And so we have 3 more weeks of this, and we're so happy that all of you joined us. Just getting information out there, and happy.
Remember, first before we leave, that we are live every week or 3 more weeks on Denise's Facebook page, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. My Facebook page and YouTube channel. You can find me as Sandra Roman Real Estate, and you can find me as Sandra Roman Real Estate in Instagram and Facebook. Please share, this information if you know somebody that might be interested in this kind of information or that needs this information, and share with them, please. So a lot
Ring
of
the
people.
bell. Ring the bell.
Oh, ring the bell to my
Whoa, 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 whoa.
to my YouTube channel.
Closing bell.
Yeah, my Aussie bell. And that's it. We'll see you. Oh,
I think we should do this like every week. This is fun.
if you want the information of all the people that Diane just said and all our guests from this season and last season, we're going to have a link where you can put your name, your email, and all your information, and we'll send you that.
I think we should call Netflix.
that booklet for that information. And that's it. We'll see you next week.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Sandra.